in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm going to let him in. He just joined.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels did what he could, but it wasn't. Sadly enough, it wasn't enough. The Eagles just came to play, and Saquon Barkley looked like an alien from another planet. Like there's just nothing that we could do. We didn't have the. I say we as in like the Commanders. I was going for the Commanders because my brother and my dad are both Washington fans. So
we just didn't want to see another Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl because we knew it was going to be the Chiefs.
Yeah,
I knew it was going to be the Chiefs.
That was ridiculous. Looking at the numbers and stuff, Jalen Hurts didn't really have to do much, but for good reason because Saquon Barkley did everything. It's like Saquon is a rookie again. He's just rejuvenated on the Eagles, But I keep every time I see online, I keep seeing that Joe Shane and the owner talking and how the owner was talking about he's not gonna be able to sleep at night and stuff like that. Well, bro, you better be having nightmares for not paying Saquon, and you better be not having nightmares for not drafting Jaden Daniels like Joe Shane's kid wanted to do. But hey, you took Malik Nabers, you did what you had to do, and now you're paying for it because Saquon, look at him. Now Saquon's going to the Super Bowl, which something he never would have been able to do in New York. The first half, they just scored so easily. Saquon, 18 seconds is how long it took him to run down the field and score.
Yeah.
And he did it with ease. He broke, 3 tackles and just took off. So they're doing lazy, sloppy arm tackling, and that's something that you can't do in the NFL, especially when you got a guy like Saquon across from you. So just throwing your arms out or pushing guys out of bounds, no, tackle that dude. You're on defense for a reason because you tackle. And so you can't do that against Saquon. If they do that in the Super Bowl, then Saquon's gonna run all over him. And they tried to do they kept getting Luvu kept jumping over. That was something I thought was the best part. That was my favorite part of the whole game because he did it 2 times, and then they said, okay, if you do it again, then we can award you a touchdown. Which I didn't know that was a real rule. I had to look that up. Apparently, that's a real rule. The officials can award you a touchdown, which is crazy because I used to do that in Madden all the time. I'll just run, boom, sack quarterback every time, and because nothing ever happens, right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to share a quick Super Bowl story though on that. I don't know if you've ever seen there was a mic'd up of the Ravens 49ers Super Bowl. And Joe Flacco saying that there was a free kick at the end of the game. And he said, he goes, what if he breaks one? And he was serious. He said, I just run on the field and tackle him. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
And the rule, later it came out that was if he had done that, it would have given him a touchdown. So sorry, I didn't mean to touch
Yeah, no, and that's one of the things people don't realize there's so many crazy rules that are behind the scenes that we never hear about because these aren't just everyday rules that we see every game, right? It's not like the tuck rule or anything like that we joke about. But going back to the game as far as the Eagles and Washington goes, so it was a lot of that whole series of events was chaotic because after Luvu did 2 times jumped over and it didn't work, and then the third time it was a defensive lineman, I can't remember his name, but he did it, and then they come out again and said, oh, we'll give them a touchdown if they do it again. Well, one, it's a different player, man. And you're trying to get them to go offsides and get an encroachment like that, and it worked. So you can't be mad at the defense. That's kind of the plan of the offense at the time. But they set up the tush push, they got it. No surprise there, right? Philadelphia got the tush push, or the brotherly shove, I think is what they're trying to call it now. But Jaden Daniels, I noticed in this game, he's got some maturing to do as a football player. And what I mean by that is he tried to make a lot of plays out of nothing. And yes, quarterbacks can do that, ones that have the ability that Jaden Daniels has. And I understand that. But having the maturity enough to say, let me throw the ball away for this play, save the yards, and try again on the next down. But no, he was getting sacks for big losses that he shouldn't have. And those really hurt them. That definitely didn't set them up in good positions where, man, instead of taking that 11-yard sack, you could have saved those yards and not have to. Now you don't have to get a 22-yard play out of the deal or whatever it was. So I think that this showed in this big-time game for Daniels that he's got some growing to do football-wise. In the media, he looks good. everything you want to in a franchise quarterback. So I don't have any concerns there. That was the biggest thing I saw as far as Washington is Jaden Daniels not making good choices with the ball. Zach Ertz did amazing, but Zach Ertz has always been a good tight end. He's just over the hill. I wouldn't see him staying there any few more years. They had a really awesome fake punt, which was exciting. That was always fun to see. Plus, their rookie got some face time on national television, so that's always good. I think he's going to be really good in the league. Give him a couple years, especially learning from a guy like Jaden Daniels. I think that's going to. I mean, not Jaden, Zach Ertz. Learning from him, that's going to help a lot. And you're tied to Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback, rookie tight end. That's going to go well. But yeah, it was a good game if you're an Eagles fan. So apparently a lot of people are going for the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I don't blame them because, like you mentioned earlier, nobody wants to see the Chiefs win again. Not because we're haters, because the Chiefs are so good, right? It's not like when the Patriots were just so good, right? It's not that. It's that it's blatantly obvious that the league is pushing the Chiefs and the referees are pushing the Chiefs, and nothing's getting done about it. And you can't, after the Texans debacle, that right there like kind of solidified it for me that, okay, something's going on here, man. Like this isn't an accident. These aren't accidental bad calls. Like this seems like it's being pushed. And that's why the whole world outside of Kansas City Chiefs, like old school fans, want the Chiefs to lose, right? Now, I may be wrong on that.
Wouldn't you have owners coming out and saying like, yeah, this is bullshit? Like, I feel like you would have owners coming out and saying that because we just had this discussion. I think they got outcoached. Buffalo just got outcoached in that game.
And let's not be shy.
On the board. They were running obvious tush pushes with Josh Allen. Everyone knew it was coming, and they still did it anyways. I mean, it was just and when Andy Reid was calling on fourth down and maybe not taking the points, it was in specific spots. They weren't just doing it willy-nilly. I mean, you had two of them that was just, what are you doing? Like Josh Allen, the only reason it was a pass off to Curtis Samuel is because he was stopped at the goal line on the 2, and he just had to, or on the 1, and he just had to toss it off to Curtis Samuel. I mean, just dumb decisions.
Yeah.
They were telegraphing plays, and you could see it. It was insane. They just got outcoached. It wasn't.
Well, it is Andy Reid, so you have to take that into consideration too. It's not just the Patrick Mahomes or the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift stuff. Andy Reid's a damn good coach. I mean, the guy's going to be a Hall of Fame coach for good reason.
And coach and other teams shit their pants.
Yes.
When they face the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, like we had the discussion about the refs. Like, at this point, I don't even think you need the refs because these teams are beating themselves.
Yeah.
You're seeing it week after week. There was a ridiculous play call with Houston against them.
Yeah.
They had the 4th and 10. There was no reason to go for it on 4th and 10. You gave them a free possession. I mean, I just think it's a lack of accountability from fan bases saying, yeah, our coach is just a moron. Our coach made a stupid decision. And Sean McDermott has done this year in and year out against the Chiefs, where he pisses down his leg in the big moment, besides the big moment. I mean, that was tough. It was think about all the people flying around. I mean, that was a tough one. Like, people are going to act like he was standing right there with no one on him. I mean,
right. It was a tough
play to make.
Right. Most, if not all, are going to miss that, but you have to make that. You're right. You have to make that. Now, I don't think the Bills have bad players. I think they're trying to force Josh Allen, and you don't need to do that. Right? Like, what are you trying to? Are you trying to just use his strength as a strong runner? Which, okay, that's fine, but you also have to use something else. You have to have a passing game. Okay, you have to utilize that. They didn't use Dalton Kincaid the way they were supposed to this year. You have a freak athlete at tight end. You have a really good wide receiver in Keon Coleman, and you have a really good running back. Now, James Cook did well. Like, James Cook has done very well. But they need to up their passing game if they want to compete with teams like the Chiefs, because we see right now that strategy, that game plan is not going to work to get you over that hump, to get you back to the Super Bowl that they haven't been to in so long.
Yeah, and the Super Bowl just as an example, why people, it's like you see a movie and you think it's pretty good, and then maybe your wife drags you to see it again. You're like, all right, I'll see it again. And then maybe you have another friend who's like, I haven't seen it. And you're like, oh, God, I've already seen this movie twice. Fine, I'll see it one more time, and it kind of loses its luster each time. And do you realize that by the time we potentially see fresh faces in the Super Bowl, roughly 1,460 days of our lives will have passed. And we were talking about how the Bengals and the Rams was really the last time that we got to see a Super Bowl where we had at least one fresh face, if not two. And now we're looking at, when it was the Chiefs-Eagles in 22, the Eagles weren't a fresh face. They'd been there 5 years prior. Last year, Chiefs and 49ers, again in an election year 4 years later. Chiefs-Eagles, oh my God, again, we just saw this. Like, this is unprecedented how monotonous this is becoming. So I'm right in the middle with you two guys here where, yes, it is completely on these coaches. I would just ban that. If you want to fix this problem, ban the Texans, ban the Bills from the playoffs because they have been the worst contenders, right? And the Bengals haven't been in every year. They haven't been in the last 2 years. And when they've been in, they've given them a game. They're the only team that beat them. Brady beat them twice. Like, I don't know how you fix that, but unfortunately, it's the same teams that are playing this role of like, and they're so painstakingly close, right? If the Chiefs win this game 31-7. We're all just like, damn, Chiefs are good. I got nothing to say. They had us fooled all along. But instead, we're like, oh, my God, if they had just done one thing, this play and this play. And there's so many plays. And we talked, Justin, before you came on about chasing the points, right? They were at the 1 instead of the 2, so the Chiefs benefit from their own offsides penalty. But then they chase the points, and they have to chase the points again. It's things like that really end up being the difference.
Right, and that's where I think because it was such a close battle, 29-32, that's a high-scoring game. And I don't think anybody expected it to be a low-scoring game with these two teams. But if the Bills can add that passing aspect into their offense, I think they pull this one off. Because the Chiefs actually they scored once or twice, like on accident. So I think the Bills actually could have won this if they have a passing offense. Or excuse me, let me say use their tools in the passing game.
Yeah. Cook 13 carries for 85 yards. Didn't run him enough.
Right.
Didn't run. I mean, they optioned to him on the 4th down for a touchdown, but you could run him in. See, This is a situation where you have a great back, but maybe you feel like, but he's not we don't really have a good short yardage back. We don't have.
Ray Davis only getting 2 carries. That's ridiculous.
Is ridiculous. Ravens didn't carry Henry enough. Bills didn't carry James Cook enough, and it felt like the Bills were the better team. It felt like this year was different for them. I mean, that to me is what stands out. I was telling Alex, this is the first time the Chiefs scored over 31 all year, or over 30 all year. They wait until against the Bills.
So they needed it
in the championship game.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, and didn't you just know that when the Chiefs had a chance to run out the clock that they were going to convert? Didn't you just know when it was 3rd down? Like, you knew somehow they were either going to run or throw a short pass. It was that was the most certain moment for me of the entire game was when after, the Chiefs got it back at the end and they're trying to run out the clock. I had no doubt in my mind because Andy Reid might be the only coach on earth that calls a pass there.
Yeah.
I was in a Chiefs bar watching the game, and it was, remember they picked up the first down that everyone thought was, okay, that's the game, but they ran out of bounds on it. Remember? And a friend of mine was sitting next to me who was very intoxicated, and he was like, "Oh my God, we're not going to win." And I was like, "You're going to win. You are going to pick up this first down. They will not get the football back. I guarantee. I would put my car on it that they will not get the football back, and you will win this football game." And that's exactly what they did. I mean, it's just they did exactly what they wanted when they wanted to, and that's been the story all year. It's been the story the past couple years with them. They do exactly what they want when they want to, and that's why they're the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not because the refs are throwing, they're throwing like little marbles on the field and making guys slip like in fucking Home Alone. It's because they're just a really well-coached football team with a really good quarterback, and they know how to use their weapons properly. I mean, James Cook having 13 carries. Josh Allen, I want to look at I think he had like 10 carries. He was the second leading rusher for the Buffalo Bills. Why is he the second leading rusher for the Buffalo Bills? There's no reason he should be the second leading rusher. Absolutely not. I don't in a game this close. No, that's unacceptable. If I'm an owner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so like I agree with you. They're a very, very well coached team, but there's been a lot of questionable calls, man. I feel like you have to admit that.
But
like more than
they're
a
the best
lot.
team, and they're always on national TV. They're always going to have the more questionable calls because it's just so magnified.
People want to watch it, Right. It reminds me of this old Buffalo Wild Wings commercial where there was like overtime or something like that, right? It was or the game was about to be over, and then like they have a button or whatever, like an overtime
Yeah.
button or something like that, to just keep the game going so they stay at the restaurant. I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of the NFL's like MO right now with the Chiefs. Is like, okay, everybody wants to see the Chiefs, so let's just go ahead and do whatever we can to push them because that's going to increase ratings, which increases money, revenue for the league. Because it's a business. I get it. It's a business. Mahomes is the
It
face
is.
of the franchise, of the not just the franchise, obviously, but the league, right? And Mahomes is such a household name. Like I live in Texas, and there's like little kids running around with Patrick Mahomes jerseys on that they didn't even know the Chief existed 3 years ago. But it's Patrick Mahomes. They see him
Yeah.
everywhere on all the commercials, all the stuff like that. So now they're Chiefs fans. I get it. They're kids. They don't know anything. But there's adults that are doing this too. Okay, so the league plan with the Chiefs is working. So the Chiefs are the new Patriots, and that's just something we're all have to live with.
But even fans are. I mean, I've seen fans are sick of the Chiefs. Like, I would understand maybe a few years ago having that thought, like after like when they won their first one when they beat Philly. I can understand having that thought, but now people are just sick and tired of them. I mean, you look at every Facebook, Twitter, Threads, fucking not Blue Sky. They removed all the teams from Blue Sky or something. Every social media platform, it's we're so sick of the Chiefs. Like that is as much as like people want to laugh at that. That is a metric for how they judge things, and maybe it's just based on the likes and the comments and the interactions. They don't care about what's actually being said, but people are sick. Every person that I talk to who is not a Chiefs fan are like, man, we're just sick of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It would just to me it doesn't make sense to continue pushing the Chiefs just like they did. Like the NFL wants, you want to spread it around, you want to spread
Right.
the success around, because that's gonna build new markets. Your
Game,
guests only
not
going
just Chiefs games.
You don't want the success going to fucking Missouri. Let's be honest. You don't want the success always going to Missouri.
Yeah.
Missouri is, you want them. Maybe you don't want it to go to Dallas because Dallas is always going to bring it in.
Jerry.
Actually, I don't even know anymore now. You bring in Brian Schottenheimer. I don't know about that anymore. But there's other markets that are in desperate need for a little bit of a vamp. And if the NFL is hitting those buttons, you would think they would want to hit those buttons. Like Arizona. Arizona they've had a booming sports market for a while.
Yeah.
And they're right next to Utah, who's also had a booming sports market with the Utah Hockey Club, and the Utah Jazz have been pretty good for a while. You would hope they would probably boom them, but they've been, I don't know, mediocre at best. They were 7-9 this year, right? 7-10. I don't know. The 17 game, Mike, that just fucks my records up all in my head. It just doesn't make sense to me to constantly build the Chiefs up.
Yeah.
Like Buffalo, you're edging their fans, so you just keep them right there, right? You're like, oh, you guys are right there. Literally the Geico commercial with the money.
Oh,
like,
you almost had it.
Yeah, like that's how you make money in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make sense constantly bringing that. People are going to be sick of it.
But
I mean, people don't
only,
even. Sorry, my last thought. Chiefs fans don't even like want to buy the new Super Bowl merch because they're just like, well, I have it from last year.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's gonna come next year. Like, why would I need to buy more?
Right.
You got to get new stuff.
Yeah, and I pointed out that this is the problem is this is now going back to 2003. So I was wrong earlier. I said 7 quarterbacks in 22 years. I believe it's only been 6 AFC quarterbacks to start a Super Bowl in 22 years. Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, Mahomes. Right? They've all done it multiple times. Roethlisberger went to 3, Manning went to 4, Brady went to 9 in the AFC. Mahomes has now been to 5. I'm losing count here. I think that's 21. My brain's fried from the math. And then Burrow and Flacco made it once, right? The AFC has been dominated by the same quarterbacks. We had a lot of parity in the NFC. The problem now is this trend in the AFC is continuing, and the NFC the pool is starting to shrink a little bit. Now had the Eagles 3 times in the last 8 years. We've now had the 49ers twice in the last 5 years or 6 years, whatever. We had Tom Brady when he was in the NFC. I mean, the problem with football, it's not a problem, but the thing with football that does sort of allow for this continual cycle of dynasties or top teams is it is such a quarterback-driven sport, right? And it's a coach-driven sport. And when you have an elite quarterback coach tandem, which is why props to Peyton Manning, because he went to 4 Super Bowls with 4 different head coaches, by the way. That's my favorite stat. It is very hard to top that, and it becomes a feeling of like there's an aura. Okay, Mahomes has done this 5 times. Roethlisberger's done this 3 times. Brady's done this 9 times. It becomes so imperative to do everything right to beat those teams. And I don't know how you do it. I don't know. Everyone's talking about this year's draft. There's no generational quarterbacks. I think we're way past the days of Trent Dilfer or even a Brad Johnson. I'm not knocking Dilfer because I'm a Ravens fan, and I'm certainly not knocking Brad Johnson, who was really good. Even Joe Flacco winning a Super Bowl. I mean, I think there's a reason why it's been only teams with really, really good quarter. I mean, yes, okay, Nick Foles you could throw in there, right? That was a special Eagles team they have. But by and large, it is just going to be the elite quarterbacks every single time.
Yeah.
It's
Dilfer and Gannon, I forgot, and
Dilfer and Rich Gannon. Those are the other two that.
Yeah,
but they were also at the beginning of the century too, so they kind of kickstarted it.
You can't count Trent Dilfer. That defense
I mean, that was Trent
that
Dilfer
team.
Against Kerry Collins. That's Super Bowl. Okay? 2002 was Rich Gannon against Brad Johnson. Look, Gannon was the MVP that year.
Right.
Brad
you
Johnson
can't discount Rich Gannon. You can, because Trent Dilfer he was not the reason that team won. It was Ray Lewis and that defense was the reason that team won.
Right. But my point being here is that just about every quarterback that's won a Super Bowl recently, again, maybe the exception of Foles. I mean, even Eli Manning, it's a chance to be in the Hall of Fame. He didn't get in, did he? Or is that not, hasn't been announced? And so, I mean, you can't just say, well, we're going to just ride an elite diva. You have to have, and to your point, Justin, Josh Allen, I mean, I think it was your point, Alex, you said this too. Allen's a great quarterback, but they got to have more around him.
Yeah.
And they got to have maybe a better coach. Maybe McDermott only gets another year or 2 of this.
Well, I mean, they've drafted good talent. Like they just drafted Keon Coleman, just drafted Dalton Kincaid last year. They've got good passing options, and Khalil Shakur did really well. So the options are there. I think it's the offensive scheme. So Sean McDermott needs to look back and be like, okay, what are we doing wrong? Okay, well, I can tell you what you're doing wrong. You're not making your quarterback use his arm. That's what makes him a quarterback. Okay, dumping a pass off to James Cook, that's not being a quarterback. Okay, any Joe Blow can do that, right? Well, okay, you get what I'm saying. But anyways, so like any quarterback can do that. But a real quarterback is going to be able to make those throws, those contested throws and things like that. You've got good receiving weapons. You have to use all of them. Okay, don't just say, oh, Josh Allen just run the ball. Like, no, dude. Stop trying to win Josh Allen the MVP every year and go win a Super Bowl. What's more important to the franchise? Not how many MVPs you won. Lamar Jackson's probably going to win it this year, so he's going to win back-to-back. How many Super Bowls has he won? A big goose egg. So what is that worth to the Ravens franchise? Good for Lamar Jackson, but what is that worth to the Ravens franchise? Absolutely zero. And the Bills need to realize that. It doesn't matter how great Josh Allen is, how many commercials he's in, all this and that. That doesn't matter. How many Super Bowls have you won? Because right now your franchise is at 0. Okay? Yeah. You've lost every opportunity that you've had. And the Chiefs continue to be the Bills' kryptonite right now. You've got to figure out and do something to change that. Because right now, it's my belief that looking at what I've seen this year and these numbers from against the Chiefs, you're not utilizing your passing weapons. You're not.
And I do want to say this was a rebuilding year for the Bills. I think we do get lost in the playoffs. So as disappointing this loss is, and I think this is a good way to close out that segment. And then I'll go over the Hall of Fame finalists, I guess. We didn't really talk about that on past episodes. This is a positive year for Buffalo. Like, I still think it might be time to move from Sean McDermott. Like, how long has he been there now? It's got to be like 6 years, 7 years at this point, maybe longer.
Come in with Allen or the year after?
I think it was the year after.
I mean, if they release 17. Sean McDermott, I don't think that's a slight on Sean McDermott as far as what he's done with this team, because this team was just dog water before Josh Allen and even the first year of Josh Allen. Like, his team was dog water.
If they win the Super Bowl in the next 5 years with a new head coach, he should get a ring.
Yeah, because this is Sean McDermott's team. But you can't blame Sean McDermott for everything though, because the GM is the one in charge of bringing in players. Yeah. So if the GM is, because they're managing the team, looking at the team, okay, all Sean McDermott can do, poor guy, is just build with what he has, right? He can't go out and say, all right, I'm going to sign you. That's not his job. The GM there needs to be the one to say, okay, we're lacking on passing, so we need to either bring in this receiver or bring in this backup quarterback who can push to push Josh Allen to be better, not to push his job. Because let's face it, Josh Allen ain't losing his job. Okay, let's not be crazy here. But as far as somebody like I'm not saying they're gonna bring in a guy like Nick Foles, but a Nick Foles type that has experience in big time games that can come in and say, hey, I've been in this league a long time and I've won at the highest level and I played at the highest level, and this is what I think you should do as a quarterback. But also,
Joe Flacco's right there.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Flacco has already said, like, I don't want to be a starting quarterback. I'm here to just help a young guy get better. And he did that with Anthony Richardson a little bit this year, and he definitely did that a lot last year in Cleveland. So Joe Flacco is a great mind, which I've never been the biggest Joe Flacco guy, but the dude's a journeyman. You can learn a lot from a guy like Joe Flacco. He's won a Super Bowl. He shouldn't have won Super Bowl MVP, but that's my opinion. I think Jacoby Jones got robbed. But my point is the guy's been there. So the Bills need to bring in a guy to fine-tune Josh Allen's his arm, not his legs, because Josh Allen is doing amazing. He's very strong because he carries the Bills on his back every game.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the quarterbacks right now, the teams that have won, that have moved on, they're not the ones carrying their teams. They're not the ones there like throwing the football 50 times a game. They're not the ones saying we live and die on you and specifically you. Jalen Hurts is the secondary character on that offense right now behind Saquon Barkley. Patrick Mahomes does exactly what he needs to do and nothing more. They know how to let their guys work for him, and you know, they get the best out of all their guys around him. You're not going to win against teams that are like Patrick Mahomes' battery right now. It feels like it's spent to about 50%.
Yeah.
Josh Allen is down to like 5%. He's running on fumes. If you want to think about it in the most simple way.
Yeah.
You're not gonna beat a team with a quarterback that's on 50% when you're on 5%. Is essentially what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You just need the supporting cast. And those guys have obviously taken big steps forward for Buffalo, but I feel like maybe you want to add one more big weapon.
Yeah.
One more big guy somewhere. Find somewhere on that offense just to help add to Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And then maybe bring in more of like Mitchell Trubisky. I love Money Mitch.
Bring him back.
Bring
him back to Buffalo.
But he's not like the guy that's going to give Allen all the knowledge. He's not teaching him. He's not going in there and saying, "Look, Josh, this is what you need to do, not this." And Josh will be like, "I watched you in Chicago. Don't tell me what to fucking do."
And aren't they like the same age too?
I think they got drafted in the same draft or like a couple years
apart. So yeah. There's no quarterback worth their salt out there taking advice from Mitch Trubisky. I mean, even a new quarterback like Jaden Daniels shouldn't listen to a word Mitch Trubisky says. You should be like, all right, whatever, bro. Why don't you go there and polish my Heisman for me? And while you're over there, you know how many NFC Championship games you go to? But
not enough.
Yeah, right. But that's the only thing I see with the Bills, man. Like you're spot on. I completely agree with you on the Chiefs being better coached and better managed. So they're not asking Patrick Mahomes to go out there and do everything himself. They're not, and which is good. That's what you want. If you want your quarterback to be at 50% come AFC Championship time or Super Bowl time, then you need to use those weapons. Like using Travis Kelce in the playoffs, where he pretty much did nothing. He was invisible all year. Like saving him for the playoffs, like that's a great idea. You know, digging into your old bag of tricks and saying, okay, this is how we used to get Kelce open. Let's do it again. You know. Just the Bills they need to figure out what they need to do, because right now they're not doing anything on the ground. And what is it? Mac Hollins had the one touchdown.
Yeah, Amari Cooper had 6 catches the entire postseason, so he wasn't it.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was gone. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, why'd you bring that guy in if you're not going to use him? I'll never understand that from certain NFL franchises. They bring players in and they don't use them. Like how the Ravens have been bringing all these receivers in the past couple of years. You haven't used a single one. You know, I get it.
Diontae Johnson.
Yeah, right? Like, what was the point of that? Do you like wasting money? Like, what did you think was going to happen? But anyways, like, I get it. Zay Flowers was hurt and all that. It's precautionary. But, man, yeah. So, Bills-Chiefs, this is a matchup we're going to keep seeing. This isn't going away. It's going to keep being Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to change. But the Bills are never going to beat the Chiefs when it matters most, if they don't figure out what they're doing in their passing game. You have to be well rounded in this league nowadays.
Josh Allen was in the 2018 NFL draft, and Trubisky was in 2017.
And I'll still take Josh Allen.
I don't know if you're taking advice from a guy
No.
who's been there for 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year more.
Yeah.
For this long.
He still don't know shit.
Mike, you got any last thoughts on Chiefs Bills? I know we talked about this game at length compared to Philly and Washington.
I think you guys covered everything.
Nothing else. Yeah. All right. Let me go over real quick Hall of Fame, and then we'll be done.
Right.
The finalists currently: Eli, Fred Taylor, and Ricky Waters, Anquan Bolden, Torrey Holt, Steve Smith Sr., Hines Ward, and Reggie Wayne.
Yeah.
Antonio Gates, Willie Anderson, Jari Evans, Richmond Webb, Steve Wisnowski. Wisnowski, yeah. Marshall Yanda, Eric Allen, Rodney Harrison, Earl Thomas, Darren Woodson, James Harrison, Luke Kuechly, Terrell Suggs, Jared Allen. Did I read that again? No, Eric and Jared Allen. Robert Mathis, Vince Wilfork, and Adam Vinatieri. Vinatieri, I say, is a lock.
Lock.
Right? I think that's pretty fair to say he's a lock. Any other locks in this list right here?
They're all locks to me. No, I'm kidding.
Well, yeah, right.
Can you imagine a 25-person class?
We need to talk about Eli Manning if you're saying that. I'm glad you're joking about that.
I just, these are the guys I grew up watching, and so it's
hard to separate. Yeah,
it's hard to separate. I don't know how many kickers, if any, are in the Hall of Fame. I know Ray Guy is. Vinatieri, yeah, it's a must.
Yeah, I mean the dude's
Eli's
Mr. Clutch. I mean, nobody has made the most important kicks like Adam Vinatieri has. I mean, without him, the Patriots wouldn't have 2 of their first 3, or maybe all 3 of their first 3.
Yeah, the tuck rule only became a thing because Adam Vinatieri made the single most difficult kick in NFL history, 45 yards through a driving snowstorm to tie the game with the season on the line, being down by 3. That, to me,
that kick alone gets him in, right?
That should, honestly, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, like that's a clip. That's the only clip you show when you do his induction. Is you show that clip. And you're like, okay, it makes sense.
5 feet off the ground and it goes through 10 feet, whatever. But he's in. There's a lot of great names. I'm happy that a lot of these guys. I mean, look, there's a few locks. Steve Smith to me is a lock.
Yeah.
I think Marshall Yanda, as a Ravens fan, I'm a little biased. I think Antonio Gates kind of revolutionized the tight end position. Willie Anderson had an amazing career. Met Fred Taylor, super nice guy. I hope he gets in. I don't know if he will. He had a couple years with injuries. Antonio Gates was, he was a basketball player at Kent State.
He was the tight end. Between him and Tony Gonzalez, they were the tight ends of their era.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, Gonzalez obviously a little before Gates, but in terms of just that, kind of hammering home this new hybrid, big, physical, but fast. You can almost put him at receiver type of tight end. Yeah,
and like you see a lot of tight end highlights and stuff from when he played. So he definitely, I believe, is a lock. If you want to like a different position, then you go with Antonio Gates. On here, like as far as players that I would, because there's a lot of great players on this list. Players that I would say are not locks, I would have to go with Eli Manning as not a lock, who is arguable, but not a lock. Yeah. Fred Taylor, not a lock. Good running back, but he didn't define his era, but not a lock. And then maybe, oh man, that's a tough one. Because all the other ones I really like. Luke Kuechly was a revolutionary. Like the dude he was like the water boy, bro. He was always in the right place at the right time. It's like he knew what play they were running.
They called him Superman.
Yeah,
because he was Clark Kent off the field. He got his glasses. He was a dork.
Yeah,
he goes on. He's a fucking psycho.
Yeah, and now he's a junior high football coach with Greg Olson.
Yeah,
I love that.
Hines Ward.
Maybe like Jari Evans is good. Maybe not him this year, so maybe not a lock on him. But all the other ones, dude, like Jared Allen, come on, that dude.
Yeah.
So for me personally, the Hall of Fame, the main qualification is: did you define your era at your position in the league? And Luke Kuechly, yes. As far as top linebackers, all pros, stuff like that, like Luke Kuechly, right? Steve Smith Sr., yes.
You could say he didn't play long enough. A lot of people will say that.
That will probably be the argument. That and he never played it. I mean, because what they lost the Super Bowl that year. He was with Cam, right? That year they lost to Peyton.
Was he hurt? I thought he was hurt in that Super Bowl.
I'm not remembering it that well. But yes, that's probably going to be the biggest.
In the championship game prior to that. So.
Oh, okay.
He had what?
Yeah, it was Coney Ely that had 3 sacks in the Super Bowl for Carolina, but no one will ever remember because they just got overpowered by Denver's defense.
Hey, that defense right there was one of the best we've ever seen that year. Second to the Baltimore Ravens. But as far as not locks, that's who I'd go with. Everybody else, gosh, I wish all the rest of these guys could go in. I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased with Reggie Wayne, Adam Vinatieri, and Robert Mathis, but dude, like all the rest of these guys define their era. It's going to be hard. Like, is there a rule that says you can only have so many inductees, or do you have to get so many votes?
It's definitely about votes.
Because baseball's about votes, if I remember correctly, right?
Selectors will reduce the number to 15 finalists whose names announced December 28th.
See, I'm seeing 15 former standouts here on NFL.com. Pro Football Hall of Fame announces 15 modern era finalists for class 2025, and I'm showing as of December 28th. I might have read the wrong list. So this is showing December 28th, 2024.
Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Willie Anderson, Jerry Evans, Antonio Gates, Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, Eli Manning, Steve Smith Sr., Terrell Suggs, Fred Taylor, Adam Vinatieri, Reggie Wayne, Darren Woodson, and Marshall Yanda.
Now, finalists, that means they're in, right? Select candidates in the modern era category.
How many can be selected?
Oh,
Selections committee elects up to 5 modern era players for the class of 2025. Each must receive a minimum positive vote of 80% for election.
See, I don't like that. This list here. Okay, so who do you push? Okay, so do you push Luke Kuechly and say he didn't play long enough? Okay, I can get behind that. Do you push Eli Manning and say, okay, well, there's still a lot of
Eli out.
You definitely push Eli out. Yeah, like to me, you push Eli out, you push Fred Taylor out, maybe Jari Evans, and man, who else? Gosh, because you can't push Terrell Suggs out. Terrell Suggs was he was a defining linebacker of his era. So that gives you a linebacker. You have to give Adam Vinatieri. That's without. I don't think there's any question about that. You give Adam Vinatieri. And this is his first year of eligibility, isn't for Vinatieri? It's so 5 years. It says 2019. So yeah, this will be his first year.
Yeah, this is his first year.
Which, by all rights, Adam Vinatieri should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. If anybody out there says no, you don't know ball, bro. Marshall Yanda, phenomenal guard, a phenomenal offensive lineman just in general.
Oh, this is his first year too.
Yeah, so me, he's got to be first in. Darren Woodson, I give it because he's weighted. Reggie Wayne with his resume, and you know, I can't even play bias on this. Reggie Wayne. So they have a list. The NFL has a list of best quarterback receiver duos. Reggie Wayne and Peyton Manning are on that list in the top 4, I think. And then what's funny is Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning are also top 4 on that list. I think they're number 1, and then Brady and Moss are on that list as well. And I'm missing who was number 3, or maybe Manning Wayne was number 3. I'm not sure, but I know they were up there in like the top 4, top 5.
Probably all 3 of those are a combination.
Right. So if you're in that category, you have to be in the Hall of Fame. The fact that he hasn't been nominated since until now is a travesty.
People use he had Peyton and Andrew Luck as his quarterbacks.
They let Marvin Harrison in.
Like, why would you blame him for being on that team?
Yeah, it's not his fault.
How do you penalize him for that?
Yeah. Stupid Bill Polian, darn you for drafting Reggie Wayne. Like, okay.
Instead of putting him with Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Steve Smith you don't push. One, he's weighted, and then now he's waited 3 years, and he defined receiving in his era. Torrey Holt, he goes in, and Antonio Gates and Jared Allen go in. That would be my picks right there for this year.
Mike, any thoughts?
I mean, we could go all day on this. So,
Oh, we could.
That's true. We
Yeah.
could.
I think my locks would be, I think Marshall Yanda, first ballot. Yeah, I don't know about kicker first ballot. I mean, Steve Smith, I really want to see him get first ballot. But the only one to me that really true, like if I had to say one guy, it probably would be Yanda, honestly.
Like,
I think it's Yanda and Vinny have to be the two.
Yeah.
Even though it's a kicker, like Vinny, he gave us so many great moments, and he was just always there. I know like people are soured on his last year or 2 years in Indianapolis. He was kind of, but the guy
got
was
old, man. The
fucking 40.
guy got old.
He was more focused. He was more focused on his arms, on working his arms out in the gym
Bro,
than
so
on
swole.
kicking at that point. Oh, he was,
was
the
big as
biggest guy
shit.
of all time. I loved him. I loved seeing him walk out there, and you just look like he could beat the shit out of anyone.
Is that their new linebacker?
Like,
That's their kicker.
He was like, I'm sick of getting hit. I'm just going to get huge, and
yeah.
no one can touch me now. They'll be afraid.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think those are the only two guys. I mean, you have to push Eli out of this. There's no way Eli gets in now. He was perfect 500, perfect even touchdown interception ratio. Like, that's not first ballot Hall of Fame material. We know he took away 2 Super Bowls from Brady. Don't care. Like, you can't have him be first ballot.
Yeah, but the one was luck, man. That wasn't because of Eli. They had a really good defense that year.
Wasn't.
Like there's too many
he was
times.
a big part of it.
He was. But Eli's whole thing has been inconsistency. You never know which Eli Manning you're getting.
Yeah.
And I feel like if that has been your MO your whole career, you do not belong in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, man. You didn't define your era. If his name wasn't Manning, he wouldn't even be voted on at all. I believe that to my core. All right.
I think he would have.
You think so?
I think he would have because of the 2 Super Bowls. You take away, it doesn't matter how lucky it is. You're the quarterback of those 2 Super Bowl teams that you have to be thrown in the conversation.
Okay.
I mean, how many quarterbacks have won 2 Super Bowls?
That's fair. No, that's totally fair. Totally fair.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things where there's an argument. And first ballot Hall of Famers, there's got to be no argument, right? I mean, I know like.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So Eli shouldn't. I think Eli should wait a little bit because there's so much around. Now what he's doing with Peyton on ESPN2 on Monday Night Football is awesome. I think that's amazing.
That's also helping his Hall of Fame case.
Yes. And I think his PR guys are like, hey, keep doing what you're doing. Be enjoyable. Make people want to vote for you. You know, all that kind of stuff. Because
when he gets in, I guarantee you they maybe take a step back.
Right.
You don't see as much.
Right.
After he gets in.
I'm with you.
13 quarterbacks have won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I just pulled that list up.
Here we go here. Tom Brady, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Patrick Mahomes, John Elway, Bob Greasy, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Jim Plunkett, Ben Roethlisberger, Bart Starr, Roger Staubach. So most of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. I think the only one I think Greasy's in the Hall of Fame. I know Jim Plunkett's not. Eli's not in yet. Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
He's not. That motherfucker, keep him out.
He sucks so bad he's not even in the Hall of Fame yet.
Yeah, come on, man.
God.
What did you retire 3 years ago?
Goat my butt.
Couldn't do
You're
it?
not even in the Hall of Fame. Hey, Peyton's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Peyton's not. All these other guys
in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Hell, Eli's going to make the Hall of Fame before Tom Brady. How about that? No, I don't.
Oh,
that should never happen. You should make Brady wait. I mean, Eli wait just to put Brady in ahead because you don't want to have that.
The same year. They should do it the same year.
Can you imagine the commercials they could run on that? Like Eli versus Brady
they're
again.
Gonna do it.
They have to.
The NFL is already just going to stuff the ballot box.
Money. It's all about if it's all about money, you have to take that idea and run with it.
Yeah.
Dude, we could do when they break down the actual winners, the enshrinees, we should do a whole other show just on that. Because like, dude, there's so many points that we can make about all these players that we're seeing here. Like why they should be and why they shouldn't be out. Like, dude, we should do a Hall of Fame show because that would be that'd be an hour and a half if we could.
Yeah, we spent, I don't know, a good 15, 20 minutes just on this, which this would be a good place to wrap up, but I think a Hall of Fame show would be awesome down the line. I think we'll definitely do that. We'll bring Justin back. Perfect.
Love it.
But thank you all for watching. Make sure to go check out Justin at Kingmaker_DFF on YouTube, Twitter, or any other social media.
All the platforms is at Kingmaker_DFF. You can find me on Twitter or X.com. Instagram, and then TikTok is the same thing as well.
Awesome. Go check out Draft America, draftamerica.com. And as always, go check us out, like, comment, subscribe. Go join the email list at chaoticallyintolerant.com. And we will see you next week to prepare for the Super Bowl with John Sears.